Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Camp Content, a podcast where we talk about how to drive revenue and use content marketing to get there in this crazy market that we have entered into that is oh so different than a week ago. Are you interested in learning how AI is going to shape marketing? Well, you are in luck today because we are going to sit with Fernanda Ave, the CMO at I2A2, with over 15 years of experience across sectors like education, biotech, and consulting. Fernanda brings a wealth of knowledge to the table, and we're going to get into it. I also learned before the call that she has lived all over and worked remotely long before digital nomad was a term. So you already know we have bonded over that. And so I'm really excited to have this conversation. At I2A2, she focuses on minimizing societal challenges posed by AI, and she teaches in the MBA program at the University of Canada West, guiding future leaders and entrepreneurs. Today, she'll explore the integration of AI in marketing, its challenges and opportunities. So, if you're wondering what strategies can businesses adopt to integrate AI, or if you're wondering how to stay ahead of the curve in this AI-driven market, this is the episode for you. So, without further ado, welcome to the show.
Hi, Molly. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to talk a little bit more about AI and try to help people get there and what to do and what's going on.
Yeah, well, it is certainly the buzzword of the hour, right? Everybody wants to use AI, and I think most people don't know how to use AI. So let's give a little background, like elevator pitch for I2A2, if you will. You know, how large is the company? Where are you located? Where are your clients? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I2A2 started in 2016. So we've been working with AI for long before it was a buzzword. We started originally in Brazil and we are a nonprofit organization in Brazil as a way to educate people, right, in AI. And we moved, so now we expanded the project to Canada as well. And we are right now thinking about expanding as well, and we're in talks with other countries. So the goal of I2A2 is really through education, right, start building AI ecosystems so we can start discussing AI and educating people around AI, not just so they know what's going on, right? AI is going to change the market and how we're doing things so that everybody can actually adapt and be like AI future proof, let's say. But also for us to discuss how to ethically and responsibly develop AI, right? There are a lot that we can do with this tool, and it's important for us to have the knowledge to make the right decisions.
Absolutely, especially as we lean more and more into like AI processing data, we want to make sure those biases aren't there, which are always there because they're there, right? In the human and computer world, unfortunately. How did you find yourself at this like early intersection of AI? Although I guess people in AI would say that was not 2016 was not an early intersection, but to the dummies like me, you know, that was pretty forward thinking. How did you find yourself in that space?
Yeah, so I joined I22 a little bit later. So I've been with them for about 3 years, and and then when we were bringing the project here to Canada, right, and then I became the co-founder of the I22 Canada, and I started working with the project in Brazil as well. But the idea was actually I was working in a college here in Vancouver, and I always worked with technology, right, so biotech, um, and um, and here in Vancouver, I work with a lot of tech startups as well with the marketing. And I hosted or co-organized a group called Women in Emerging Tech here in Vancouver. So I always liked being in the front of technology. So in that college, I was responsible for all of the tech programs that we had. And part of that was looking into the future, analyzing the market, and bringing ideas of what kind of new programs we could build. And I wanted to build a program in artificial intelligence. And I needed to find people that had expertise to help me. And that's how I connected with Evandro, which is the founder and CEO of I2A2, and we started talking. The college did not build the AI program. They didn't, that it was too early, I guess. The bus was not there, so they didn't really buy my idea at the time. But with that connection, we started talking, and then they invited me to join the project as a co-founder and bring the project here to Canada.
That's amazing. I really love the, transition from, Latin America to Canada. I think that's pretty amazing. It doesn't always seem to go that way. So it feels very
I
like,
know.
yeah, feels very future thinking. I know you do a lot of mentorship. How has that impacted how you are handling your leadership responsibilities as the CMO of I2A2?
It's very interesting because we work a lot with volunteers as well, right? Especially in Brazil when we're nonprofit. So it's important to understand like what exactly the goal of the project is, and not me understanding that, right? Like me being able to organize that in a way that everybody in the team knows what the goal is, what they're working towards. I find as part of what's important about leadership is that a lot of managers or leaders, they understand the project, but when they are giving instructions or tasks right away, they kind of just give that one specific task and they
Hmm.
don't get the person involved into like what is that task role in the whole project, what exactly that person is helping with the whole project. So for me, what's important is that everybody on the team understands that we are all working towards a goal, and make sure that they understand whatever task they're doing, even if it's a small one, right? There's no, like, they're still important for the goal of the project for that to be completed. So I think that sense of belonging and importance is very important when you're working with the team.
That's amazing. I couldn't agree more. I mean, everybody is important, but they don't always feel important. And so I
Yes.
really like that. I like that a lot. So let's talk about I2A2 and like who are your clients, or, what type of clients are you working with? What's the company profile of the people on your client list?
Yeah, so we work a lot with corporations, usually on the medium size, so not small business, but not necessarily huge corporations. We work with people in the middle that are lost into like AI, right? So we do provide corporate trainings in for all the different areas in the company. So we have corporate trainings for like the CEO or executive director team, which is more on AI strategy. So understanding all the different areas of AI. They don't need to know like the coding or the technical side of it, but they need to understand how can be used and what are the different options, and start thinking about how that's going to change their market, right? But and then we also go into areas and have specific trainings like AI marketing, for example. So the marketing department, how can people become more productive using AI tools, right? So then we go specific on different parts. So AI in finance. We have a general one, which is AI in productivity. So it can be taken by everybody, basically, on the corporation, on how to include the use of AI on their day-to-day activities to be more productive.
Are you finding that in your marketing efforts for I2A2 to get those clients, do those people recognize they need you, or are you having to find creative ways to get in front of them? How does that work?
Yeah, I think with content marketing, it's very important for industries that are new. It's all important for every industry, but I feel like working with, and even when I'm working with a startup client on my as a marketing consultant, right? I do that on the side. But when you're working with clients that are on that level of technology, right? So artificial intelligence, not everybody have to know what it is. There's a lot of misinformation. Um, it is a buzzword, but like suddenly everybody's an AI expert. So it's important to have that education, right, of our potential clients to break the myths of AI. AI is not magic. It's not going to solve all your problems. Like there are things that you need to know. So it's important to have that education in our content marketing strategy. So to make the client recognize that need, right? To make them understand that they don't know, even though they might think they do, right? So bring those questions and make sure that they start questioning themselves about the knowledge that they have and what they've been reading out there.
What kind of what success are you seeing with content marketing? Like, what are the different? I we are clearly going on podcasts, so that's we could check that box. But what else are you doing, and what are you seeing the most success with?
So we do different things. So I'm actually working now on a kind of a guide, right? Like a small ebook or guide into um, basics of AI. So it kind of goes over like the different areas of AI and what AI can do and not do. So the idea of that is for like executives and people in director, manager, even levels, so they start having that understanding. So I think that works well when we're creating those guides that people can download for free, and then we build our email marketing list and start working on a nurturing campaign. So that helps. So start bringing those questions, right? Like focusing on what are the pain points that those people are having with AI, and to be honest, they are very similar for everybody in that position right now, which helps us organizing our content. So that's one thing that we do. But that content marketing is for people that are already trying to figure AI out, right? So we need to separate where in the journey that they are on. So if people are already searching for resources on AI, they are at least started questioning, right, and started doing some of that research. But we cannot forget that a big percentage of the population are still not on that search. There are people they're still not thinking about AI. So what we do in that point is that try to talk more about bringing like industry resources that are talking about potential issues of AI. So talk about, so Canada, for example, has a huge productivity issue in general. When you so there are a bunch of studies online that says that Canadians are not as productive as like employees in other countries, for example. So bringing that and connecting that, like, okay, if you're in Canada and you need to be competitive in the market, right? So we go back into pain points that they have in general that AI can help. So productivity is a pain point in Canada. We can also talk about there's the fear, let's say the AI is bringing. So like other people are going to use AI if you don't get on board, like you're not gonna stop being competitive, right? Things like that.
Right.
So
The
they can
FOMO.
start,
Right.
yeah. The idea that's like, okay, you need to move, right? And get started on this.
Right. So what is can you give me an example of a successful campaign that you've run at I2A2 like using AI?
Yeah, so we was very interesting. We with Gen AI, right? We started being a buzzword. It's kind of the area of AI that, because it gave access directly to users, made AI more famous and more popular. So we decided based on that to create a course on generative AI, not just on application of tools, but it was a longer course focusing on how to actually create their own chatbots, right? And how people could um, do the prompt engineering for different models. So it was a very interesting course that we wanted to bring, and was the first course that we did on Gen AI. And one of the things that, if you look at the data of people that participate in our courses, and that was back in Brazil, with most of our courses when we open, it's a huge amount of men. So that's one thing that happens. And it's common for tech industry, right? We do have more men working tech industry than women. So that's something that for that particular course, I wanted to change. Like I wanted to try to focus more. So that was, and having more women, that was one of my goals. The other goal is that usually in Brazil, when we open a course that's not through a corporation, it's just like open course, we usually have about 320 people registering to participate. And we wanted to make that more. Like I wanted more people. Our goal was about 600 to increase. And also all our courses are online. So we wanted to do all around the country, and not just on a specific area of the country. So we started running a campaign where we focus on three main strategies. One was creating content, focusing on not just the use of AI, but also incentivizing women, right? So talked
Mhm.
about the differences in the industry, why it was important to have more women in the industry to try to bring more awareness to that. The second campaign was to partner, right? Reach out and partner with organizations that had like either chamber of commerces or other nonprofits that focus on women, um, organizations around the country that could share the course with their members, right? That we might not have to be able to reach them, but through those organizations. So instead of having to do a campaign just by B2B, B2C and trying to find people individually, how can we focus on those organizations that have memberships? Um, and the third one, we started doing workshops. So also like free workshops that would talk about content related to what the course was going to be. And we always had like women in those workshops as well, because again, I wanted to focus on bringing more women. So that helped a lot, getting what are the women in leaders in that industry that we can find that would be willing to participate in our workshop, so we could also use their audience, right, to promote. um, so it was a really nice campaign. At the end, we had 943 people registered to participate in the course, so it was a lot more than our goal. And most of our previous course, we had about 15% of women, and for the Gen AI course, we had about 30% of women. Still not what I would like to be. I always wanted more, but we were able to double that. Like instead of 15, we had 30%. So that was a step in the right direction. So I was very happy
Yeah.
with that.
That's a huge accomplishment. I think it's brilliant. You should be very proud of that. It's amazing. I'm curious about like the difference between Brazil and Canada. Do you have more interest coming from Brazil, more coming from Canada? Is it kind of balanced? Because, uh,
Yeah, so it is kind of balanced. The models that we have on how we work in Brazil and how we work in Canada are a bit different, just because how the country works,
right,
right?
right,
And so if you look at like percentage, like population, Brazil has a lot more people, and it's a lot. Canada doesn't have that many people, but it is, and the spread, even though the area geographically they're both big, but Canada, like it's spread around the border of the US, let's say, right? The most, Brazil, it's, we have people all over. And
right.
also there's the economy, right? It's different. So in Brazil, we work a lot with government organizations that they are
Nice.
the ones that are, like say, our clients, and they're the one paying us. And then a lot of the times we offer some, not a, sometimes we offer courses that they are paying for free. So let's say we work with the Brazilian agency for manufacturing, and we created 4 courses for them into AI in manufacturing specific, because they want to invest on the manufacturing industry of the country.
Very
um,
smart.
so that's something that happens. So, or we worked with the in the south of Brazil, we have the um, hydroelectric um, place, like, and we work with them to create an AI course around the area, right? To get people in that area to be trained, so they can work at that company, right? So sometimes the difference that I see is that in Brazil, sometimes the clients, they are the corporations or the organizations, but they not necessarily hire us to train internally. Sometimes they hire
Hmm.
us to train the region, so then they
Right,
can hire more people around there, right? In Canada, we work more, our clients are more the corporations
right.
that do internal trainings and are trying to do um, development of their own workforce.
It's really impressive to be able to have like bilingual content to understand like what the market needs in Brazil and that they need more employees and to be able to create that content, but then also be able to create the same content or different content with the same intended result for a whole different market. I think that speaks volumes about I2A2 and your capabilities. And it's really smart. I think, living in Costa Rica, I wish more opportunities were available to Costa Ricans, because it's just not, you know, it's not a consumerist and capitalist country, which is nice, unless you're at dinner and you're in a hurry, of course. But there's not as many opportunities for people, and so having these AI courses to prep the future workforce is a really smart way to go about that and give them an opportunity to keep a foot in the future and not get left behind, especially as things are moving so rapidly
Yeah.
uh, around the world.
Yeah, and that's one of our goals, right? Like we do believe that everything starts with education,
Hmm.
and goes from there, right? So like with I2A2, um, education is our main service right now, but that's not the only thing that we do, right? Like our goal is to actually build those AI ecosystems here in Canada. And a lot of people, Canadians, are very humble, and Canada is one of the most important countries in artificial intelligence, and people don't know that, right? So a lot of
Right.
areas in artificial intelligence, so like deep learning, was born in Canada. Like if you look at important people in the field of artificial intelligence, a lot of them are Canadians and came from Canada. So we do have a lot of research and development in artificial intelligence happening in Canada, and it's important to share that with the rest of the world. So we actually built a program here. It's called I2A2 Canadian Lab, which is the goal is to how do we connect the AI ecosystem in Canada with other countries. And Brazil, of
Mhm.
course, is one of them, and we're doing partnerships there as well with like incubators and accelerators, and we are expanding to other countries as well. But that's the idea, right? Like AI is here; it's not going to go away, and it is going to change how we live our lives and how we do everything. So, and that social impact is going to come, right?
Mhm.
It's not a matter of, it's just a matter of when, it's not a matter of
Right.
if. So why not start educating people now and preparing society now, so we reduce that social impact through time, instead of just waiting for that to happen and then be like, okay, now that thing's exploded, what do we do?
Let's put it
like,
back together again. Right.
like we know it's coming, right? Like we can see that's going to come, so like let's be more proactive and work on it.
Right. Winter is coming. We have
Exactly. Winter's
seen
coming.
this. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, like, it doesn't have to be a terrible winter though. It could be a nice winter. We can
And
we can
we're the ones to decide that, right? Like, how bad is winter gonna be? Like, how
exactly.
prepared are we gonna be for that winter? So,
I mean, amen. I lived in Boston for a winter and it was extremely cold and I learned the importance of like long underwear and I was like, preparation is key. It really does matter.
exactly.
It really does matter. So, okay, so let's talk. I have a couple more questions for you. I always love to ask you. I'm a big reader. I love to read. And so I want to ask you, what books have influenced you like professionally and personally, if you want to pick one or two, either one.
I love to read too, so it's like a really hard
Yay.
question for me to like choose a book. Have read so much. Like, I always have my goals of the years. Like, books are always there, and like number of books and all of that. So, I'm a big reader. Um, I think that since we're I'll talk more like work related books and then maybe personal books.
Sure. Perfect.
Um, so for work related books, I think there are two books that I can talk about. Lean for like women and all of that, how to be more out there and how to position yourself. I think every woman that wants to, that's working, should, or not even working, like just every woman should read that book, and understand better, right? Like, how are we conditioned and educated in society to not raise our hands, to not talk,
Right.
and to not, right? Um, just to listen and to care. So I think that it's one that's important for me, because I try to work a lot on women empowerment issues and things
Hmm.
like that.
For sure.
The other one, which is more related to AI, so if you're interested in that topic, I really recommend. It's called Power and Prediction.
Okay.
So it talks about um, the thinking, right? Like how AI is going to revolutionize society. What are the difficulties that we're going to have into implementing AI in systems? So it's a nice to give you like that overview of AI and possibilities, and thinking, rethinking society with different systems. um, that can use AI to make them better. For personal, I think it's a very old book, but it's like I love it. It's The Hobbit. I'm a very big nerd, so I was gonna go into like fantasy and like all of that. So like The Hobbit, it's been like one of my favorite books for a really long time. That I read it many, many times, like in Portuguese and English and like different languages.
I love
Um,
it.
yeah, and I also really like. Um, there are two other that are like, but they're all fantasy. So one's like the Count of Monte Cristo, Count from Alexandre Dumas. Sorry if I'm
Hmm.
mispronouncing how it is in English. I'm just like thinking about. um, so it's a really, really nice book. I know they did movies and all of that, but they don't get close to what the book is. And one there's less well known. I think it's called the Otori Saga. It's
Hmm.
from I forgot the name of the writer, but she's from Australia, and it's three books, and it's also like fantasy, like think like samurais and ninjas in Japan, and it's very fun.
Nice. I mean, listen, I think it's important to fuel your imagination to be creative in business. And what you're doing is very creative, right? AI, it's very like hypothetical, future thinking, you know, it's you have to make your brain work in a different way that not a, it's science and creativity in there. And so it makes a lot of sense that you like to nourish your brain with fun, creative, fantasy books when you're not busy reading. Well,
Yeah.
we'll have to stay in touch for sure because I went on a real journey to read as many books as I could, and then now I've slowed way down, and I'm more interested in kind of studying some of the books
Mm-hmm.
because some of them are just so good. Like one of my favorites is the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. It's just like a good book to read once a year because there's always
Yeah.
things to improve on. Even like in your personal life, it's kind of agnostic to being a
Yeah.
business leader and just a leader as a human in your own
Yeah.
life. But I think there's so much information and good
I
stuff in
know.
books.
It's so
You
hard.
know.
Like for leadership, there's one book that I love that I wish like every leader reads, like The Radical Candor.
Okay.
It's an amazing book and talks about um, like how it's important for you to give feedback. It talks more about that, but for me, it's like to give actual feedback for your team and not just this idea of like, oh, I'm being nice to this person, so I'm not giving them like the real feedback, and how that's actually not being nice, and you're
Right.
actually doing more worse, like more bad than good into.
Right.
So all of that dynamic that happens, and I see happened like a lot, and how that affects the team, and then suddenly the person is like fired, but they never really had that
Don't know
feedback, so they
why.
didn't have the
Right.
chance to improve. And if you keep the person on the team, and the rest of like everybody else is just picking their slack, and then the rest of the team kind of be like, so I don't need to work that hard because there's no consequences. So it's a very, very interesting book that I think people should. There's so
That's
many. We can do another show that
I
just
know.
talk about books.
I know. I was thinking that I should start making a list and put it on the website or something of all the podcast guests and book recommendations and just create
Yeah,
like a
that would be
running
fun.
list for people to like check out in different categories. Okay, so my next question is about your tech stack. What's your favorite tool in your tech stack?
Notion. That's easy question. So I run my life in Notion. Like if you don't know
Okay.
Notion, Notion is like it does everything. But I think most people use it for like project management, or like task management and organizing that. But you can do everything. Like it has a small learning curve if you compare to like Trello or Asana or other project management tools, just because you can customize so much that it doesn't come like if you go in Trello, it's like you have all the cards and you just like put things there. But with Notion, they have a lot of different templates. You can do like exactly how Trello works, but you can also organize like and have databases in there and connect the databases with the projects, and then organize like your OKRs and organize like you can kind of do everything Notion. So it is my favorite tool. I like my whole life it's managed with Notion.
Okay, I'm a big Trello girl, so I'm gonna have to use it. You mentioned Trello a lot. You ain't coming from my tools, so I'm gonna
I
have to check that
know.
out. That's too
Yeah,
cool. I
no,
mean, I love the project management and like how visual things are. Like it makes it more fun for me to work in it. So I mean, I'll definitely check it out. I've heard of it,
yeah,
of course, but don't use it.
yeah, no, and they also released their Notion AI. So there is a AI organized or included inside Notion. So if you're organized, if you have like the name of the boards and the name of the tasks, you can go into the Notion AI and ask like, oh, where is this, and then it shows you like to where that is, right? So it's super
Ah,
easy, makes your life so much easier. Like the productivity side
interesting.
of it, yeah, it's very good.
All right, you've given me some homework. I'm into it. I got books to read, tools to use. It's I'm busy. I can't talk. Okay, I have one more segment for you before we say goodbye, and this is our real or fake segment, which is a crowd favorite. And so I'm going to. We even have a little graphic. I'm going to ask you or write list off some podcast names, and you guess whether they are real or fake. All right.
Okay,
The first one, The Adventure Zone.
real,
It is real. Um, Tech Tide, Waves of Innovation.
real,
It's fake. It could be
really.
real.
It
It
could
could
be
be real.
real. That's a that's actually a good name.
One of my former guests actually is starting a podcast based on one of the fake podcast names from her episode. It was Marketing
Finding a
Over
name,
Bourbon.
yeah,
Yeah.
finding a name for a podcast or a brand is usually quite like difficult. So it's always
It's
great to have ideas.
it's not easy. Okay, the next one is No Such Thing as a Fish.
Fake.
It's real.
What is it
Um,
about?
I don't know.
Do
You
we
know,
know?
usually these are marketed towards like these
Okay.
are usually written for the guest, and I'm like, I don't know where these
Yeah,
fish.
I'm definitely gonna go after and Google it to find
Yeah,
out what it does.
I know. I know. I'm curious too. All right, and then the last one is the digital briefcase.
Real?
Fake. Yes. I always, don't worry. Everybody gets them all wrong. It's what I live for, honestly. But if pro tip, if you just look at my face, you'll be able to tell if I'm lying or not because I'm a terrible liar. But don't tell everybody else that. Don't tell the next guest that. Then the whole segment will be ruined. Well, Fernanda, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We'll have all your links and everything. But what is the best way for people to connect with you after listening to this episode? If they're thinking to themselves, this is exactly what we need. These courses sound fabulous. What is the best way for them to make that happen?
Yeah, LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So even if you have any questions, like or want to look around, just connect with me on LinkedIn. It's just like Fernanda Ave. I'm there. So I think that's the easiest way for you to find me.
Perfect. And I gotta say, I'm really, really impressed with everything that you've presented today. So for those of you listening, this seems very clear cut and really smart to prepare all of this course content and to arm your team and get them ready for these changes and do it in a smart way that's not very cumbersome on your budget and your resources. Working with I2A2 seems like a very smart idea, especially if you have any overlap into other markets and other countries and have any interest in Brazil and Canada and you're in, wherever you might be, this makes a whole lot of sense to me. So definitely get connected. I would imagine they have some link lead magnets and little mini courses and all kinds of things that you can take to get into the fold. So connect with Fernanda and get in the loop. And thank you for tuning in to Camp Content today. I hope you find it valuable and that you are learning a little something that you can implement in your business or maybe share with a friend, because that's the whole point, is how do we make money? How do we close more deals? And how do we do it through content marketing? In this particular market, it's not the pandemic anymore, and it's not even post-pandemic anymore. We're in a whole new era, and hopefully this podcast is giving you some insights and information to make that journey a little bit smoother. So thank you for tuning in, and until next time, be excellent to each other. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Camp Content. This is Molly.
And this is Matt.
And we are Heartcast Media, aka Camp Content, and we appreciate all of your support. If you found this content valuable, please comment on social media, LinkedIn, wherever you find us, and we will make sure to comment back.
And be sure to go on and subscribe and like on your favorite platforms, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, you name it. Leave us that subscription, leave us that good review.
We'll love you forever. So until next time, be excellent to each other, and we'll see you next week.
Produced by Heartcast Media.
Thank you for tuning into Camp Content, hosted by Heartcast Media. We are a digital content agency focused on content marketing for businesses and brands. If you're looking to save time and be more consistent with your marketing and need a little guidance on what to say and how to say it and where to say it, we got your back. Book a discovery call today and let's talk.